Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Joe.
I'm Parker.
And we're running out of time, bro, man. You going on vacation pretty soon here. So we're trying to crank some podcasts out before Parker leaves us. Of course, this doesn't matter for you because they're not released yet. So this is just a little sneak peek into our personal lives. I'm going to miss him, but not too much. I'm glad to have the place to myself. Now is when I throw all the parties because, I've been... I'm actually an extremely well-known individual around these parts, and I'm just choosing not to show that to Parker because, So, but when he leaves, I'm going to turn up. Is what my point is.
You're going to get us evicted?
That is the goal, yes, sir.
Get us out of here. I always get so fucking scared when we have a fucking note on our door. Mm-hmm. It's just, like, that last one was something
because we don't break the law. We don't do anything.
No, I know, but it's just like...
We literally aren't even that noisy, it's not other than we're kind of... klutzy with like if we have a remote in our lap, we'll stand up and it'll hit the floor. That's about the extent, unless of course like a few episodes back we literally the entire episode was about us wrestling the night the downstairs neighbor got back. But rest assured that is not every night, only most of them.
Definitely not every night. But speaking about rowdiness, and my mom always drank Miller Lite when I grew up, and I just, as a kid, you taste it, and it's like coffee. It tastes nasty. But I haven't had a sip of fucking Miller Lite or any beer in fucking forever, and you gave me a sip of that shit, and I was like, damn, that's actually not that bad. And so maybe your taste buds definitely do change, don't they?
I think so. I think you could get used to a taste, too. Like,
weed. I mean, weed, when I first started smoking, I was like, damn, that tastes like just black coffee. And I didn't like
weed.
it.
I've always liked the smell.
I didn't hate it, but like...
To me, weed is so distinguishable from a skunk. I mean, I've never...
Yeah, a skunk is like more
the far, like weed after a while, like if somebody walks past you, like if they're way down, then that after, like the far diffusion or whatever you would call it of the smell, the very tail end of weed kind of smells skunky, but I think weed straight on doesn't really...
No, if you're smelling it straight out of the bag, definitely not. Weed straight out of the bag doesn't even smell like weed, like how you think. Like, like there are some weeds that smell like that, but I smelled like that exotic the other day, and that shit smelled like straight like fruit. I'm like, what the fuck? So...
Yeah, but skunk doesn't really... I don't know. It doesn't really smell... I mean, it smells bad to me if it's really strong, but skunk also, the smell of that doesn't smell terrible to me.
Yeah, I'd rather smell a skunk than like shit. Mm-hmm. For sure.
Especially if you've been to a ranch or something like that where you really smell it. It's I'd rather be, depending on how clean it is, I'd rather be in a backyard where a skunk just did its thing than in like a sty.
Yeah, but I feel like, well, yeah, definitely more than a sty. I would get tired of both smells, but I do get tired of like a skunk after a while. I'm like, oh my fuck.
Is that the sty, pigsty, or stable, whatever?
Pigsty. And like hold your horses means just keep it stable. I don't know.
I like that.
Yeah.
Play on words there.
Fucking, but pigsty. Where is that really what it's called? A pigsty? Wait, is that where they live? Like a sty?
I don't know. They're kind of corralled pigs, right? You always think of the pigsty as it's all muddy and they're just outside, but I don't know, man. I'm not a farmer. I mean, I've been on a couple of them. I've been on I don't know if it's a sheep farm, but like a pasture with sheep where up in the hills where they drive them, I guess. Is that the correct terminology? That you drive sheep? I don't know. They feed, and you herd them.
Herding, yeah.
So, but they don't herd them on horseback or anything. They have dogs and the
border collies and shit.
The herder, I guess, he is like the big stick and everything.
Is that what it's called? The herder? The rancher?
Sheep herder?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That shit's... I like living down here, because moving down here from where we used to live, this is fucking farmlands, like all around,
Well, the whole United States almost is if you get out of the city about an hour and a half.
But just living in suburbs versus fucking, it's like...
Hey, easy, dude.
It's like, I don't know, my next door neighbor when I lived with my mom was a fucking farmer. Like, it's weird. Like, he would leave for weeks at a time to go and live on the farm and deal with that and then come home for like a week.
I'm not an expert, but I don't think it's like we think, especially with these commercial farms where you have the farm manager. Yeah. But I don't know if the owner, it's not as dirty as I used to think, I guess, or I had an idea of, because even in those John Deere trucks, you see them sometimes if you've ever been on a road trip and they're close to the road, they're turning over the dirt in their field or whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
When they're driving by, you could see them with their feet up on autopilot. That's a huge cab in there, and they just They're just watching a little
everything
TV
is,
like your mom has in the kitchen. I mean, it's air conditioned. They're just, the thing knows where it is, GPS of the field, and it's just doing its thing, and they're just monitoring. And that might not even be the owner. That's probably just a farmhand. They hire him. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? On these huge farms.
And because I feel like nowadays,
depends on what you farm.
Yeah, nowadays, like a farm, what it used to be is like now a ranch. You know?
I don't know if that makes sense, because a ranch, I don't know what is the difference between a farm and a ranch, actually.
Sorry for clickety clacks. Farm versus,
why don't you use your phone?
Because this is easier. A farm is a land where a farmer grows crops and livestock. A ranch, on the other hand, is a land where livestock such as sheep, cattle, and goats, pigs are raised. So yeah.
Oh, so pretty much a ranch is like where living things you breed and sell animals, whereas a farm is food. Okay.
Food, yeah.
Look at that.
There we go. A rancher
I think I would rather be a rancher then.
Yeah, a rancher works to maintain the grazing grass as it is essential for the livestock animals. Yeah.
Can you imagine being an actual cowboy like back in the 1800s?
Some Red Dead shit.
Yeah, but that's more spiced up, I would say, because it is a story, not necessarily a criminal, but like an actual cowboy where you're driving, you're on horseback in this saddle for hours at a time, dude. Can you imagine your thighs are chafed and shit? Oh. Like, you don't have toilet paper. I mean, did they have toilet paper? You gotta go down to the creek to wash up, and you're driving these horses in these hot temperatures, and then at night it's freezing, right? So you're all dressed up, you're sweating all day, and then you're cold.
Because especially if you like are working into the night, you're probably sweating, and then as soon as it turns cold, all that sweat just turns like icy. It's fucking terrible.
Right? You're on horseback all day. You're driving them across states. What is this? Paper became widely available in
toilet paper.
Oh, but in the Western until 1857.
Damn.
Yeah, maybe they had like a roll in their saddlebags or something, or maybe they had some kind of, I don't know about wet wipes, but
they probably had just like some form of paper, to wipe their ass with.
I don't know. I think it's like a common sense thing, and we're just not realizing it. I feel like I should know this, but I mean, I'm just saying though, on horseback, think about how long it takes to drive across states going 70, 80.
God, yeah.
And you're in a saddle all day, and then at night you're camped out there, and you're like barely sleeping probably because you might be paranoid. Like, is there anybody out there? Are there like the bandits lurking, or highwaymen or some shit, or animals? It's like
you're literally like, it's the wild west. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's no. I mean, you are the first line of defense. You're carrying a gun, but I guess that's our perspective. Like, if you're raised in that, like if you're born out there, it's normal. You're like, you know how to shoot. You've been in the situation. So to them, they're like, of course. But this is just, you get used to it probably.
Here, I looked up what did cowboys use for toilet paper, and it popped up mullein. I don't know how you say that, mullein, but it's basically velvety big leaves. mullein, aka cowboy toilet paper. If the cowboys used the large velvety leaves of the mullein verbascum thapsus plant while out on the range, then you can too. Have you ever seen
leaves? I mean, I'm sure they used leaves, and maybe they had a bar of soap in there in some kind of container or some shit, and they would take that and a towel with them down to the. You go to do your business in the woods, and then because you'd stop by a creek or something, right? Like, hey, there's a creek, but not always. What if you're riding all day and you can't find one, but it's the end of the day, you gotta.
Damn, bro, life is fucking luxurious now, huh?
Well, also it depends on who you were back then. I mean, there's cowboys now, but they're probably still on horseback, but you don't, we don't know about them. Drive them across. I don't know how they do it nowadays, but. That's how at night. What do they just roam free, or how does that work?
The horses?
No, the cattle. Like, cause first of all, how many cowboys? If you had a big herd, how many do you think would go? Like 6? And do you think they have is it like ranks? Like, this is the head guy, head honcho, boss man.
Probably. Whatever? I'm sure it's kind of gang like, just different ranks.
Well, they probably work for a guy that owns a ranch because it's cows, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and that'd be a farm because it's dairy products.
I don't know, whatever. They probably work for the guy that owns, and they're like, you hire a cowboy, right? They're like a construction worker or whatever. They're
contractors.
Yeah. And then they get together and they're like, all right, let's go. Or maybe they're all from the same company of contractors. Like, hey, this is a cowboy company. You can hire these guys. I don't know. I don't know how it works. We probably look it up, but
I don't know. I like speculating.
If you have like 8 of them or something, they make camp. So obviously you could. I mean, if you're in the woods, there's gonna be woods, right? Unless you're in the Great Plains, which I don't know. Fucking, you put a stake in the ground, you tie your reins to it. There's your horse, right? Yeah. But they would just have to let the cattle roam around, right? And then what is it like? Every morning you got to go get all of them and do a head count.
I guess. I mean, I'm sure a lot of them would be.
How did when Cowboys would camp or whatever? I don't know how to word this.
Would Cowboys let cows roam free while camping or something at night?
Dude, and then let's not forget the natives at that time, dude. The Native Americans, they were, you know, imagine you're going through, I don't know, Apache's kind of Arizona. I don't know. They fucking drive cattle through Arizona because it's all desert, right? I don't know where exactly the tribe, but imagine, you know, there was cattle driving in North and South Dakota. So imagine what was up there, the Sioux or something? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, any of them. They'll like fuck you up too. So you got tribal that, shit, yeah. You got the like bandits, you got animals, like damn dude, they were probably
armed. Wild West.
They were probably armed to the teeth, bro. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like interesting. I know the day-to-day would suck, but they also probably like saw some cool stuff. Like think about the light pollution you were talking about when we were driving to Peoria.
It was literally like in 10 minutes. It was just the night was.
So they would see some crazy stuff.
I'm sure you probably could see the fucking like Aurora Borealis and fucking like not Aurora Borealis, but the Milky Way. The Milky Way.
Oh yeah, sure. Dude,
you could probably see the Milky Way in like Texas
and shit. Yeah, because they were out there every day, like every night, all night.
I got the answer for your question.
Oh, what is it?
At night, the men took turns riding around the herd, 2 men at a time, moving in opposite directions. So they just have.
Whoa, that's cool. Yeah. So they all night they would just go around like clockwise, counterclockwise, like one just, and they would they like pass each other, be like, "What's up, Steve?"
Probably.
Hi, Paul.
Excuse me. It took between 8 and 12 cowboys to move 3,000 head of cattle along cattle drives. Damn.
8 to 12.
To distinguish what cattle belonged to which ranch, cowboys would brand the animals by burning a special mark into their hides. Damn.
Imagine hog tying. Well, I guess they probably just like, you know how you see footage of horse trainers or whatever, how they get it to sit down, they like push on his back and then it just goes down.
Yeah.
So maybe when they sit down, if they're trained, you could like push them over, they'll lie on their side, and then you just tie their legs. And then everybody, like 5 guys hold it down or whatever, and then you just brand it because it's going to squiggle. You know, I mean, it hurts.
Fucking, wait, branding a horse?
Would they, or...
The cows.
Yo, no, would they brand, no, you don't need to brand a horse. Yeah, my bad. No, so what's the biggest thing? Yeah, a cow.
A cow would probably be, but also they come in so quickly with that shit, they can't see behind it. They'd probably do that with a horse too.
Yeah, but the scariest thing to brand would be a cow, because that thing will kick the crap out of you.
Yeah, but how fucking long is that branding iron? So you're like 4 feet back, and
do they do it like, you ever see them with like hog tie this sheep or whatever, and then they brand it and they're like, people hold it down? Is that just in movies?
I mean, I can check, but I don't think they would Cowboys hog tie?
Like, how would they brand cattle?
Calf roping? Oh, that's a rodeo event.
Yo, I wonder, you wonder how many cool stories we've never heard. How many times do you think like a group of these guys were out there and like they got, like some bandits got the drop on them and there was some crazy fight and they won and got away, but we'll just never know because this happened like all the time and it was the Wild West. And
fuck, yeah, I wonder.
This should probably happen like 30 times a day, dude. Think how many people were just riding around out there, man.
You're right. The traditional cowboy stockman captured and secured an animal for branding by roping it, laying it over on the ground, tying its legs together, and applying a branding iron. Good shit.
I just remember seeing that in like multiple, I don't know whether it was...
Damn. That for 3,000?
Yeah, but I mean, if there's 12 of you, so you guys are... So the herd is probably then like a couple miles long, huh?
I could probably see like...
I mean, how spread out are they? 3,000 of they're freaking cows.
Let's look up a herd of 3,000 cows. That's probably fucking... I mean... Oh, thanks. Aerial?
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna see... I can kind of imagine it, but...
Well, I mean, like, how many is this? How many sheep is that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It depends on how spread out it's gonna be, and you know, it's not like what did they do? You can't yell, because think about all those cows with all those bells on them, with all those hoof beats, all that mooing and whatever noises, and your dog. You can't hear. So they probably had like hand signals or something, and they were probably spread out.
All the fucking
like
cowboys?
bracketing in the they probably rode like spread out, but bracketing in the whole herd so that
they probably had like
you watch your. It's like playing zone coverage in football. You like watch your sector. One of them gets to lose, you get it.
Yeah, damn. That'd be interesting to watch it because they're pack animals. So if you scare one into going that way, you're gonna scare 5 others, which is then gonna scare like 17 others, you know. And so it's like that's what herding is. I mean, you're just scaring all the animals into one central place, basically.
It sounds like it would be a fun job to do back then, but like for a couple years.
Yeah, not a whole career.
Like I wouldn't want to do that for the rest of my life.
I would definitely.
I don't know. I've never done it. Maybe it would be amazing feeling. But
imagine. Well, I mean,
back
like,
in that day, maybe it paid well.
Lives. At this point in our lives, if we were back then, like I'd be like,
what if it paid well?
If it paid well,
relative to what it cost. I mean, was it a profitable profession?
How much did it?
Dude, forget it. We would just be Jesse James's or join the army or something, dude. I mean, what else adventures are you gonna do back then?
I don't want the Dallas Cowboys revenue.
How much old Cowboys make in the 1800s?
Oh, 25 to 40 a month. So what would that be for inflation, though? They would get paid $830 a month.
Adjusted for inflation. So look up inflation calculator and use let's go late. Let's just be super fair. 1888. Forget it.
Not 88.
1888,
and
2021.
But this is the most.
Dude, 800. What was it a month?
It was $826 a month.
$826 a month.
Oh, so, $1,095.
Yeah, that's $40, dude.
Yeah, so that's how much it was last.
Look up 860 whatever.
Oh, I thought
see how much they made a month today. How much you would make?
23. No, that's because the $40 was the 861 today. So $40 a month, how much they made was $861 a month.
Oh, so they made $800 a month.
Yeah,
that's not good today.
I mean, no, for doing all that work, hell no.
No,
that's how much I make for working at my job.
That
more than
sucks.
that. Well, more than that.
Look up some. What are like other than the gunfight at the OK Corral? Which, by the way, that's not that bad. Have you heard of that? Like the actual guy, Wyatt Earp. His story is kind of cool because he's not like the hero, like the typical, like he was like, I don't know. I was watching a documentary and I remember somebody I think it was the documentary on the movie with Kurt Russell and like Val Kilmer. It's called Tombstone, about the whole thing in Tombstone. And I think they had a documentary about the making of that or whatever, something like that. And I was watching it because I liked that movie when I was little. They were talking about the actual Wyatt Earp, and they put it like he was a flawed man. Like he cheated on his wife, he did this, but he was a good lawman, but he was also a businessman. He was this, he was that. And when he was in Tombstone, he actually he wasn't a lawman. He just became, after the other gang was coming in and messing stuff up. But that dude was a tough dude, man. Him and his brothers.
Sounds like it.
I mean, the real life story is kind of intense, but he actually died in 1929, and I think he was on set with some of the early Western cowboys, like earlier than John Wayne, like the silent movie ones, and advising. But I heard that John Wayne spent some time with him. Bro was a beast, dude. You've heard of Bat Masterson?
He was born
right?
here. He was not here, but in Illinois. Monmouth.
Have you heard of Bat Masterson?
Mm-mm.
That guy was cool too. He died like later on.
Who? Bat
Masterson, yeah. These were like the lawmen, like the Old West lawmen, like the cops.
Oh, Bartholomew.
And the cops and robbers.
Was a U.S. Army scout, lawman, professional gambler, and journalist known for his exploits. Ed Masterson was his brother. I wonder what he did. Was a lawman and the oldest brother of the American West gunfighters, Bat Master. Dude, they were gunfighters. Oh, yeah. Is that where they walk out and that's a duel though, isn't it? Him and Red Dead. Josephine. That's her sister.
Stop. She's like 180 years old. What are you doing?
There's nothing wrong with that.
Weirdo, man. You've never heard of Tombstone, like the shootout at the OK Corral? Isn't that
gunfight at the OK Corral? The gunfight at the OK Corral was a 30-second shootout between lawmen led by Virgil Earp and members of a loosely organized group of outlaws called the Cowboys, including Ike Clanton, that occurred at about 3 p.m. on Wednesday, October 26, 1881 in Tombstone, Arizona Territory. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, it was before it was a state. Yeah. They wore like red. They were like the red sash, the gang with the red sashes. Like they wore red handkerchiefs and shit.
It is generally regarded as the most famous shootout in the history of American Wild West. Damn, I've never heard of that. Is it a movie?
Yeah, well, there's like 5 of them, but go back real quick. The gunfight was the result of a long simmering feud with Cowboys Billy Billy Claiborne, Ike and Billy Clanton, and Tom and Frank McLaury on one side, and Town Marshal Virgil Earp, Special Policeman Morgan and Wyatt Earp, and Temporary Policeman Doc Holliday on the other side. Billy Clanton and both McLaury brothers were killed. Ike Clanton, Billy Claiborne, and Wes Fuller ran from the fight. Virgil Morgan and Holliday were wounded, but Wyatt was unharmed. Wyatt is often erroneously regarded as the central figure in the shootout, although his brother Virgil was Tombstone Town Marshal and Deputy U.S. Marshal that day, and had far more experience as a sheriff.
That sounds like. Can you imagine being there? Oh, here, go to fighting or get away.
Ike Clanton had been publicly threatening to kill the Earps for several months, including very loud threats on the day before. Wyatt told the court afterward that Clanton had bragged that he would kill the Earps or Doc Holliday at his first opportunity, but when the gunfight broke out, Clanton ran forward and grabbed Wyatt, exclaiming that he was unarmed and did not want to fight. To this protest, Wyatt said he responded. So Wyatt said he responded, "Go to fighting or get away."
Damn.
So they just dipped.
They were
like, "Fuck this.
Fuck this shit. I'm out."
Wild West, man.
Yeah.
So the conclusion of this podcast is basically we would not survive more than 3 or 4 hours, I'd say, in the Old West, because Parker would not have his Humira shot, and I
wouldn't have a toilet.
Insane.
I wouldn't have an actual toilet to go and at least try and shit into.
Yeah, I would just lose my mind from all the mosquitoes. So
fuck that. All those flies and shit.
Yeah, that would be not cool. Peace.
Deuces.